Hello, I'm Ginger Nelson and welcome to Tea Time. Today I have the pleasure of talking to Mr. Mike Beeman. Welcome, Mike.
It's good to be back.
Now, Mike, we're going to talk about your Boston Marathon.
Well, it was a little bit more exciting than we had planned because this year, being my 36th, there was some doubt because of the old knees.
That's right. Let's talk about that first.
Well, I ruptured both quadricep tendons in both legs, so they both snapped on Labor Day of last year. And through...
You were running by yourself, right?
I was. And
that day?
That day, I was running by myself, and boom, they go. And, you know, as the doc said, it was part of all these years of running, jumping, doing harmful things to your body, and, you know, maybe not watching it, and so on and so forth. And he said it was like a rope snapping. And this one snapped during the run, which isn't unusual, but to have them both snap, he thinks this one snapped when my knee hit the ground, because you just
So once
boom.
that one snapped, you hit the ground, and then the other one.
Full force, knees straight down, no brace whatsoever. It's just boom. So, you know, it was a blessing in disguise. You know, slow down. You know, got great doctors. Dr. Scott's office in Francis, they just treated me with class and took care of me. Andy and Pam Ellis rehabbed me. Andy said, you know, we're going to get back to where we're supposed to be, but you're going to have to do the work, which is a good lesson, you know, in terms of doing your rehab work. And he and Pam just kept me going and going. We set a timetable and, you know, got me walking and then a little bit of jogging after about 5 months, but nothing serious.
I could not believe that, though. Couldn't believe that.
Well, you know, if you do your homework, like Andy said, he says, you're able to do this. And he told me when I could do things. And, you know, through the grace of God, you know, by February I was doing half marathon. And then
I know. You beat me.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
we did the same half marathon, and I never saw you pass me, but you passed me somewhere.
I didn't get a ride, but I did a program of jogging 2 minutes, walking a minute, and just, you know, it was a beautiful day down there in Jacksonville.
I know it wasn't. It was freezing cold, and it was windy.
I got to remember the southern folks don't like the cold, so yeah, I thought it was fun.
But you know what? I should have started off with you. I should have started off with you because I should have done the 2-to-1. And you know what? Since then, I have been doing the 2-to-1, and I love it.
And it makes sense.
I love it.
It makes sense for me.
And I don't hurt near as bad.
And I don't either. So then a month later, I did 2 weeks later, I did the Albany Marathon with Madison and Dana Sperlin and Angela, and Penelope was there, and we just did it together and did the 2-to-1. And I wasn't going to do the whole thing, but then we got separated, and I didn't know where they were and they didn't know where I was, so I ended up finishing in a little over 5 hours. So it gave me the confidence, hey, you can do this Boston Marathon. I knew I could do the distance. And so kept up with the rehab, and then boom, you know, April comes and it's time for the Boston Marathon, which is, you know, it was year number 36. And whenever I go to Boston, it's a reunion of sorts, because all my buddies and, you know, people that I know from that area, we have a reunion. And it's funny, the first class that I taught back in 1979, the kids, we have a group that some of them run the Boston Marathon.
Oh, really?
And I stayed with one of my former students from the class of 79, Paul Felici, who happened to, he was the one that was going to take Melanie, who came up with me, to the marathon this year for the first time. She wanted to fly because she was going on a mission trip this summer, and she wanted to fly. So
she's never flown before, so this was her first flight?
First time as a adult, if you will.
That she remembers,
yes, she was young when she flew before, so she was getting over that fear. So we just had a ball, you know, going up there to Boston and going to Faneuil Hall and seeing the sights. It was freezing cold. You know, our hands were, it was awfully cold, but I loved it. And everything leading up to Marathon Day couldn't have gone better. We were just eating our way through Boston, seeing friends, taking it all in. It was wonderful. Had breakfast with Bill Rogers, who is a legend in the marathon world. It was just a real neat weekend. And my biggest concern with the marathon this year was, with all the downhill and uphill of the marathon, would my quadricep tendons and knees hold up? So going into it, that was my anticipation.
And the Boston Globe actually picked up your story.
They did. Again, one of the former students wrote or called them, and I got a call from Michael Vega of the Globe about 2 weeks before the marathon, and I couldn't believe, I thought it was an imposter, because if you know Boston and the Boston Globe, it's a household name. So I says, really, and so we got talking. It was like talking to you. It was just, we'd talk about things other than the article, and he was just really, really genuine and nice. And so he did quite a pre-race article, which encompassed quite a bit of the sports page, very flattering, very humbling. So going into it, I got this Boston Globe article. I better make it. I better not rip one of these things again. So I was extremely cautious, when I started out at the marathon.
Well, I know that I read the article. I actually reposted it on Facebook so that all of my friends could read it as well. That was a great article on you and about, your knees and your quadriceps and how you were planning on it had not even been a year.
It was 8 months, 7.5 months to the day of the injury. But, again, with the help of the doctors, the rehab people, nobody does anything alone and without God's help. I had those blessings and felt good about it. Andy assured me, he says, well, just don't do anything crazy, like try to sprint or anything like that. So I had to slow myself down, literally slow myself down, because my plan was to be about 5 hours. I told everybody that. And, of course, you always get excited. And the trajectory of Boston is downhill. The start is downhill, and it goes down and down and down and down for the first 16 miles.
Really?
And it's extremely easy to get caught up in that. And then they have a place in Boston called Heartbreak Hill. And it's a series of hills from 16 to 20.78 miles, where it just continuously goes up and steep. And it's at the point of the race you're tired. And so I said, if I got to 16 in good shape, then I would walk those 4 miles, which I did. But I had to slow myself down in Wellesley, where all the college girls are holding up their signs about kissing and stop and see me and so on and so forth. In fact, my shirt, I Love Wellesley College, was a marketing, it was just a great marketing ploy to impress them that, and these are my students from Tift County High School that signed it. It was a ploy to get some attention down there. And fortunately, I slowed down there because the pace I was on at 10 miles would have brought me at halfway about 2:10. 2:10. If you double that, that's 4:20. And if you think about that, that would have put me right in the mix of what happened. So I took about 5 minutes to socialize and kept going. I saw my daughter, took a picture there, and then went on through Heartbreak Hill. And Heartbreak Hill is the last time I saw my daughter at 20.7. Literally stopped, put my arm around her, took a picture, said to her, listen, there's 5 miles to go. I don't want to do anything stupid. I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'm just going to get there. I feel good, but I'm going to walk when I have to and not push it. And I was on pace at that point probably for 4:30-ish. And so I did. I slowed down even more, talking to the Boston College kids. Boston College is about 22.5 miles, and just took it all in. We're just taking in all of the sights, talking to people, stopping, high-fiving, just enjoying it. And the last time that you register on the computer, because a lot of people will follow you in the marathon on the computer, is 40 kilometers, which is 24.8 miles, I believe. And that's the last time your little chip, your timing device, which is on the back of the number, it records you. So when you go over 40K, you go over this little hill by Fenway Park, wave to the Red Sox, and you think, I'm getting emotional. I was just about to cry because I'm thinking, I'm going to make this. Thank you, God, for getting me through this marathon. I'm going to make it. And so I said, I'm going to run the last mile, and that's when, the surreal part of the, marathon existed, because I literally got to, I made it to 25.8 miles. And as everybody knows, the finish line is 26.2, and the bombs went off at 26.2 and 25.9 miles. That's when the two, I call them trash can bombs, went off.
We're going to go to a quick break, Mike, and when we come back, we want to hear more about your experience at the Boston Marathon. We'll be right back.
For over 42 years, Moon's Pharmacy has been committed to providing professional, friendly service, where our pharmacists welcome your questions, offer you overall lower drug costs, and free citywide delivery. While we still believe in good old-fashioned customer service, we also know the importance of staying on the leading edge of pharmacy innovations, such as travel and flu vaccines, custom compounding, and specialty packaging for homebound patients. Choose Moon's Pharmacy. Together, we can make a difference in your health.
Why do savvy builders, quality remodelers, and serious do-it-yourselfers do business with LMC dealers like Short and Falk? Because quality materials, product knowledge, and buying power matters. We're part of a network of 1,200 independent lumberyard locations nationwide with billions of dollars in buying power that allows us to provide the quality products you expect at the competitive prices you deserve. So on your next project, stop by one of our 4 locations for products that provide solutions. Put our billion-dollar buying power to work for you.
Body language. Without saying a word, it can tell you so much. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time. Time to call 911 immediately. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Learn the body language, the sudden signs, and spot a stroke fast.
You get a barrel of fun, yet pretty as a sunset, redhead like wire.
Hi everybody, I'm Kevin Sport, singer-songwriter and host of our show, The Right Place on RFD, inviting you to join me and some of my friends on Saturday, June 29th in Patterson, Georgia, for the Spirit of Liberty celebration. It's going to be a lot of fun. Come on out and join us.
She likes her country in a rockin' kind of way.
Welcome back to Tea Time. We are talking to Mike Beeman, and he has been telling us a little bit about the Boston Marathon. It was his 36th year this year, and we actually have a medal up here. So you were able to finish.
Yeah, well, they stopped us. You know, the marathon was over when they said it was over, in my opinion. And I told you I got to 25.9, which is not a complete finish. And you didn't have to tell me twice. My first reaction when I first saw people running towards me was, why are you running towards me? And you just finished. You trying to rub it in my face. I was actually angry. I was like, what are they doing? And then it occurred to me that people without numbers were running. And that's when the policeman just yelled, 2 bombs went off at the finish line, the race is over. So immediately finishing was not a concern. It was more, where's Melanie? You know, and I went into a kind of a panic mode. And one of the things that...
Now, Melanie is your daughter, and she is in high school, right?
Yes, she's a junior. She's going to be a senior at Tift County High School. And like I said, she was on her flight, and she wanted to enjoy it. And she was with my former student, and they were in a car, and they were following me to the finish after seeing me at mile 4, 10, 13, and 20. And so they were cruising along on Huntington Ave, I believe, which is about 2 blocks from the finish, and they found out that the bomb went off. Paul, who's my former student, said, well, we're going to get out of the city. Your dad will be fine. He's not going to be close to that. He knew darn well that I was, but you know, he did the right thing. He got her out of the city. So they skedaddled onto the interstate and got up to Wilmington, Mass. In the meantime, I just didn't know when the bombs went off. I didn't know if buildings were down. I pictured her and Paul at the Copley Plaza, and the building was blown up, and there's just rubble, and I pictured 911. And then when I got up onto Boylston Street, which I got up there, and you look down towards the finish, it was smoke and just carnage everywhere, and it was just something that was not a good memory. And then they just backed us up. You got to get away from this area. And they didn't know if more bombs were going to go off, because 2 had gone off, and the terrorism is hurting people and then putting fear in their minds. And they accomplished both, because everybody's thinking, well, another one's going to go off. Where's it going to go off next?
Yeah.
So they're pushing us back. In the meantime, we're cold, and most people had loved ones at the finish line. Cell phones do not work when something like that happens, because they shut the towers down. And so you look to the sidelines where the spectators are, and they all are looking at their cell phones, and can I use your cell phone? And you can, but it's not going to do you any good. So, I mean, I started wailing, crying, because I just didn't know if my daughter was okay, didn't know how to find her, and so on and so forth. So it seemed an eternity of waiting and talking to people and trying to get some information. My bib number, I noticed it today when I was talking to you. There's telephone numbers written on there, because those were the cell phone numbers of the people who I had communication with. They were telling me, here's my cell phone number if you need to stay in Boston tonight, because you may never get out of here tonight, and it's a safe place, and so on and so forth. So I didn't even know that until I looked at it today, that there are telephone numbers, a couple telephone numbers written on there.
It looked like it's been through a lot, too.
Yeah, I washed it, It was, I shouldn't have washed it, but I guess I did. And it was sweaty, and so it seemed like forever. And finally, a text message went through to my friend Paul, and my message to him is, I'm okay, are you and Melanie okay? And the girl was from Tufts Medical School, and she said, sir, I've got a text back. And this was, like, again, time froze. I don't know what time it was. It was probably about 4:15, and we're okay. No, didn't know where they were, and so now I know she's okay, but I didn't know how to get to them. So what do? You're in a city. Fortunately, I wasn't just a person in the city from South Georgia for the first time. I knew where I was going. So I said, well, I'm going to get out to Beacon Street and just get away from all this stuff. And I was freezing because it was 41 degrees. I'm sweaty, cold, so on and so forth. So I found a frat house. A frat house was on Hereford. And the frat house, kids were coming in and out of there, and I says, excuse me, what's going on in there? And they says, it's just a frat house. You want to come in, sir? And because I had this number on, people, I was okay. And 364 other days out of the year, I would have been a creeper. Get out, So they invited me in, sat me down, put a blanket over me, offered me some libations, and I did. I had a beer because it was just,
I'll blame
felt
you.
good. And we talked for a while, and then finally one of them actually got a phone call through to Paul, my friend, and he says, we're in Wilmington, Mass. Get a cab. Don't worry about the cab fare. I've got it, because I didn't have any money with me.
Yeah.
And so I says, I'll take care of it when I get up there, Paul. But it may take me a while to get up there, because this city is just, it was either in panic or it was shut down. It was either people were running from, no, the bomb's going to go off, or there was nothing on the streets. So I says, I'll get up there. I'm a survivor. So after socializing and fraternizing with these fine young students from MIT, I went out to the road and walked to Beacon Street, which I know very well, and I put the thumb out. And a lady from California stopped, of all people,
Wow.
and saw the number, and she says, where are you going, sir? I'll take you wherever you need. Because they knew what was going on, people helped. I says, I need to get to North Station, which is a train station. I think I can get a train up north. And she says, all right. So she drove me to North Station. I says, thank you very much. Never got her name. Probably should have, just to get a thank you note to her. The train station was closed. So now I didn't know how I was going to get up there. So I talked to a police officer. I said, sir, I'm from South Georgia. I don't know how to get out of here. I need to get to Wilmington, Mass. He goes, I got this. And again, because of the number, he stopped the cab, just went out on the road, stopped it, and said, you will take this man to Wilmington, Mass. And so the cabbie took me to Wilmington. It was a $50 cab fare, but it was the best $50 I spent, and it was, I don't know what time of day it was, but when I saw my daughter, it was pretty emotional, and she felt better. She knew I was okay, but she didn't rest until I got up to Wilmington,
I'm sure.
Mass.
So how many hours from during the time that the bomb went off until the time that you saw Melanie?
It was between 3 and 4. I don't really have a timetable, but it seemed like it was an eternity. And from the moment I got in Paul's SUV and saw Melanie, and we had another friend that had run and already finished, he was in there. They just stuck a cell phone in my ear because the Boston Globe wanted to do a follow-up article. So the Globe starts talking to me, and then when we hang up with him, another reporter called because the Boston Globe is syndicated. You know, and so he knew that I was close to it, and so all these interviews, and I didn't realize the magnitude of it. I thought it was, that's New England, Boston. I didn't realize how far-reaching it was until I got back to Paul's house. You know, and I got there, and the phone is still ringing. You know, people are trying to contact me. I looked on the computer on Facebook. I had 71 friend requests, 65 messages, and 193 notifications. And those had all occurred in the matter of maybe 2 hours.
Unreal.
And most of the friend requests were from radio or TV stations that wanted to be the first to
grab your story.
And it wasn't my story. You know, the story was the people were killed, the people were hurt, you know, both physically and emotionally scarred. And I've seen a lot of people, you know, get out there and tell their story and put themselves at the center of the tragedy, as opposed to just saying, hey, you know, I'm okay, I'm not the story. They were the story. You
That's
know,
right.
Somebody was just released from the hospital the other day, the last person. I mean, that's 6 weeks. Jeffrey Beeman had both of his legs amputated from the knee down. The young lady who lost at least one leg, a ballet dancer, teacher, the 8-year-old that was killed. I mean, how do you say to them, well, you know, this is my story? You know, that just, it's so, to me, it's too much embellishing about it, and I'm almost embarrassed to, you know, not talk about it, but, you know, I was a very small blip on the map. I was one of those 5,700 people that didn't finish. And if they said, well, Mike, it's over, your streak's over, which it was in doubt. You know, I did not finish. I will be the first to say I did not finish. What the Boston Athletic Association just announced about a week ago was anybody that made it past the halfway point is a finisher. We extrapolated your time. That's a big word for me to say. So my time was extrapolated, and they said you would have finished in 4, I don't know what it was, 4:41 or something like that. That's your time, and that's going to be in the official book. Your streak is not ended. Your streak is still there. So everybody that was in that category that I was, not only is declared a finisher, but they got first dibs on next year. So we're already in for next year. That's the class of the Boston Athletic Association. They took it and said, we're going to make a good thing out of a bad thing.
Well, Mike, we're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about next year.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Are you in the mood for some amazing food? Well, stop by the Smokehouse, home of the best ribs in the South on 82 and Tifton, and try their new barbecue buffet. The barbecue buffet features their signature smoked chicken, pulled pork, and their famous barbecue beans, all cooked over high-quality blackjack oak. The barbecue buffet is offered daily from 11:30 to 2 and from 5:30 to 8. On Friday and Saturday nights, try the buffet featuring Lake Okeechobee fresh catfish. The Smokehouse is home of certified Angus beef, and they're now in their 26th year. Let them cater your next party. Give them a call at 386-0606.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Hi, my name's CJ. A few years ago, my father became seriously ill. I did what I could do before he passed, but it took its toll. I lost my job, my house. I'm getting back on my feet, but I don't know when there'll be food on the table. How'd I do, CJ?
We could be twins.
Well, cousins, maybe.
play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
For over 42 years, Moon's Pharmacy has been committed to providing professional, friendly service, where our pharmacists welcome your questions, offer you overall lower drug costs, and free citywide delivery. While we still believe in good old-fashioned customer service, we also know the importance of staying on the leading edge of pharmacy innovations, such as travel and flu vaccines, custom compounding, and specialty packaging for homebound patients. Choose Moon's Pharmacy. Together, we can make a difference in your health.
Welcome back to Tea Time. We've been talking to Mike Beeman. He has been telling us about his experience at the Boston Marathon this past year when the so-called bombs went off. I have to say, I want to say that I was one of the first who commented on your Facebook page. I know you said you had, 193 notifications. The first person who popped in my mind when I heard it on the news was you, of course.
Well, a local person, running, so you equate that person.
Yeah.
But there was 27,000 people running and many more spectators. So, I didn't consider myself special. I really didn't realize when they told us that we couldn't finish. I just figured that people back in Tifton thought I fell down and, hurt my legs again.
Oh,
I didn't
no,
realize
we
how
knew.
far-reaching it was.
Yeah.
And then it was weeks after when I went through the timeline on the Facebook comments, that blank between 3 and 4 o'clock where people didn't know, and people were saying, have you heard anything? Is he okay? How's his daughter? And it was genuine concern. So it brings tears to your eyes when you see that, and it's also chilling because of the terror, that gut feeling that you don't know everything's okay. That bothered me, that hour of not knowing where Melanie was, or if she was okay, or what did she see, and what is she thinking, and what does she know about me. And so you couldn't get contact fast enough. Marie, Melanie's mom, she acted as a middleman between, so it was good that she was able to do that. And she also posted quite a bit on Facebook. She posted what she knew.
Yeah,
and,
I think that was like one of the first updates that we got.
Yes, and a lot of people, I heard this, I heard that, or so on and so forth. That's where rumors start, and so on and so forth. So it all turned out well for us, and we were able to get out of Boston. Fortunately, the next day, I was worried Logan Airport would be closed, and it was closed for a while, but they reopened it. And Melanie says, "Do you think it'll be okay, Dad?" And I says, "That'll be the safest airport in America." The next morning, because they had security and they had National Guard, and they were ready to do body searches at that point in time. So it was a good flight, coming back in. And I actually flew into Jacksonville because I don't like flying out of Atlanta. It's too busy,
I don't blame you. I don't either.
But one of the Atlanta stations had interviewed me on, it's called Skype, and I didn't know how to do that.
You didn't know what Skype was?
I didn't. My daughter set it up at Paul's home that night, and they set it up, and I Skyped with Zach Klein, I think, from Atlanta, and I don't know what station that is. But he says, "Now, can we talk to you? When's your flight getting in tomorrow?" And we set up. I says, "My flight's getting in at blank." He says, "Well, we'll have reporters there," and so on and so forth. He says, "You're flying into Atlanta, right?" And I says, "No, I'm flying into Jacksonville." And he goes, "Oh, okay." But one of the funny parts of the whole story was, I don't wear the Boston Marathon paraphernalia. I don't wear the jackets and the hats and stuff like that. So when we went into the airport to fly out the next morning, these people were walking around with their Boston Marathon jackets on, and Melanie goes, "Dad, you ran it. Why don't you get one?" And I says, "They cost like $90, I says, "I know I ran it. You know I ran it. That's enough for me. I don't need to advertise." I'm not begrudging them their jackets. It's fine, and I'm not mad at them for wearing them. So we get off the plane in Jacksonville, and we go through security, and we come out the airport, and there must have been 20 cameras like we're looking at right now, at least, with reporters, pens, papers, and they descend on all the people with the jackets. We, in turn, had our, you couldn't tell I ran the marathon because I had a Tiff County sweatshirt on, and she was dressed nicely, and I said, "That's why I don't wear a jacket."
That's a good idea.
So it was a good thing. We were able to just get out and get home.
So next year, you plan on running?
Yes, I said from the get-go that if we say terrorism or to the devil that we give in and we're going to be scared of that. No, I said no. I'll be back. If they allow me to. And now I've learned that I am considered a finisher, and we are invited back automatically. They may even reduce the fee, which is nice. It's $150, but I'll pay the whole thing. I don't mind. But yeah, I'm planning on number 37. God be willing and health be willing, and it's going to be, in my opinion, the most in-demand Boston Marathon ever. And in saying that, the 100th running of the Boston Marathon in 1996 was the biggest. They allowed 37,000 people to run it because it was the 100th anniversary of that. And it was downright chaotic because there was so many people. And I don't mind if they open it up to 37,000, but it's not my decision. It's the decision of the towns that Boston Marathon runs in. See, everybody thinks Boston, it's in the city. It's all run in small communities. Like it's like running through, literally like running through Tai,
really?
Alapaha, small.
So you're not running through like the big city, that's what I thought it was.
The last, maybe, once you go over Heartbreak Hill, you go into, Cleveland Circle and you go through Boston College. That's the city, and that's pretty busy and so on and so forth. That's when the subway system, which is old and rickety, that's when you see the city sites. But when you're running through Ashland and Framingham and Hopkinton and Natick, you're going through some smaller towns, and there's just a ton of people there. But Hopkinton is a very small town, and to have 37,000 people in a town that's maybe 15,000, that puts a strain on the infrastructure. I mean, they're back roads, and they accommodate us at a high school area, and it's very small. It's extremely small. So that's the reason it's not huge. Like Atlanta, where you have Peachtree accommodating 60,000. So it's a big difference between the two. So next year, 2014, I'm planning on being there.
Well, that is great. Now you're still running right now?
I'm still. I just do running now for fitness. I call it, a maintenance program where I'm jogging and walking. The heat and the humidity and the dew points really affect me.
Yeah,
so, me too. I'm looking at maybe 4 or 5 miles a day, 5 or 6 times a week. I'll get out and maybe go longer on the weekend with the ladies. But, this 2-in-1 has really benefited me, but I think I can pass a lot on to, I'm not saying beginner runners, but maybe somebody that's trying to
you've passed a lot on to me and
move up.
Yeah, and doing the 2-to-1 has helped me tremendously, which I know I train with Candy Phillips, and you had told Candy about the 2-to-1, and so now we're doing it, and
we enjoy it. We can talk, and
when we say 2-to-1, we mean 2 minutes we run, 1 minute we walk.
Yes, and so when the mind says walk, it's good. When the body says to walk, then that probably means you're hurting. So in this heat, I do that, and I'll get in the gym, and do different things, bike and stuff like that. But it's still a maintenance program for these babies here. I mean, it's a extremely unusual injury to begin with, but when you're talking about 2 of them, I constantly have to be in contact with my body, in terms of, geez, how are they? And there's some things I just can't do. I mean, I don't kneel down on the floor because it's a lot of pressure that goes to that area if you're kneeling down. So I've, for once in my life, listened to my doctors, and the doctors I mentioned, were just fabulous in terms of taking care of me. Dr. Scott really, he didn't do the surgery because he wasn't here, but he was the one that really says, no, you're not going to be in a wheelchair. We're going to get you up on your feet. Let's go. And he was very understanding, and I didn't even know that he knew me, and he was so caring and so genuine in terms of, you can't be just sitting around. Let's get you up and doing stuff, and that was neat. Same with Andy. He knew my mindset, and it's incredible what they can do.
Well, I'm glad that you're able to run. You actually helped me run, so I'm glad you're able to run, and I'm glad that everything turned out at the Boston Marathon for you and Melanie.
And likewise.
I know a lot of people can't say that. A lot of people hurt and still hurting from it. Did you know anyone who got hurt?
I did not. I don't know anybody that got hit. I do know somebody that marathons have photographers at the finish line, and one of my friends from New Hampshire finished, and she showed me she sent her photo, her marathon finish photo, and she's running in perfect form, perfect stride, right at the 26-mile mark, and you see her, she's in perfect stride, and in the background is the suspect number 2 with that white baseball cap, which everybody knows who he is. I can't say his name, but he's in the background. You can see him right in the background, just looking, and he's right near the trash can. That's how close she was, So you look at stuff like that, and you say, "Wow,
reality.
It was reality." And like I said, I'm just glad and blessed that I finished when I did. Maybe this was meant to be, because I'm usually. I think my last year was...
And all the kisses you received.
Yeah, that was on the cheek, of course, none of this crazy stuff. But you look at all those factors, you factor all that in. And
the fact that it was Melanie's first time coming to watch you.
Yes.
And so she stopped you several times to take photos.
Yes, and I don't believe in coincidence,
Yeah.
It was not a coincidence. It just wasn't my time. So I'm very blessed to be here and talk about it. So.
Well, we're blessed that you're here, and we're blessed that Melanie was okay as well, and that y'all were able to reconnect.
And we did, and I'm thankful for that.
And you're back home in South Georgia.
That's right.
Where you belong.
That's right.
We appreciate you being on the show today, Mike.
Well, thanks for having me again.
And we wish you the best of luck next year at the Boston.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time on Plant Tiffany at Wiregrass Channel 3.